Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It's Monday, October 6th, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. How you doing today, Cody?
What day is it?
Monday.
Well, Monday Blues doing good. I mean, Packers didn't play, so I guess I can't be too upset. But yeah, it's been a week. It's been a weekend. But happy to be here talking with you.
Have to be here as well. Have the Eagles light and red in the background, hoping I have a good game to come back to when we're done with our episode here. Those of you watching or listening on podcast platform can know the results of that before we're done. But anyway, make sure you're following us at the Couch GMs, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, even more than you do from the show here. As always, you can DM us with any fantasy questions you have or join us live Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 East. And you can ask us live, whatever you have going on. Couple of things happening here, Cody. Why don't we see what's happening? Now, I feel like last week you and I were just like overwhelmed with like everyone's hurt. Who are we going to play? What is happening with this? And I know there's a lot of guys we're going to have to update who like maybe didn't play last week. But I feel like we're going to save a lot of that for Thursday when we have a better idea of like what their statuses are through most of the week. But there's a couple of injuries I wanted to update here on the show this week. First off, the big bomb of the week, Chargers placing Omarion Hampton on injured reserve with his ankle injury. I didn't really see an IR stint coming from this one, but very concerning for people out there who are already thin at running back.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look good when he left. I believe it was third quarter when he did leave. And they already lost Najee Harris there, so they're currently their only other running back on the 53-man roster is Hassan Haskins. So you'd have to think he's at least one of the top waiver wire targets this week, but their offensive line has been so banged up as well. They're struggling to move the ball. They're struggling to protect. It seems like there might be some fool's gold with trying to go get the third running back for the Chargers, but maybe that's just me.
No, it's very true because there's also like, is it him or is it going to be Hiami Vidal, who's been on their active roster in past seasons, but is on their practice squad right now? He got a couple of carries on Sunday as well. I think it was 4 for him, 5 for Haskins. So like I feel like Haskins has the better chance of having the workload. Vidal has the better chance of having the boom potential, but it's probably going to be a messy split of like, do I really want either of these? And I'll probably go out there and try to find other waiver wire guys first and maybe throw like a last claim on a guy like that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I tends to make me think like Haskins might have the opportunity. I know he has not done much as a pro, but don't forget who his college head coach was. Harbaugh was his college head coach. That's a big reason why he is in LA now. So if you're talking about a guy with trust, like it stems back to their time together in college. But it's not so much. It's just the way the Chargers offensive line injuries on top of the running back injuries over the last couple weeks have really made me not feel great about this. It's starting to feel like, back to the Austin Eckler heyday, when he was in Los Angeles, he would get hurt and it'd be like, oh, do I want to play this guy or this guy? And it was just like a revolving door of trying to figure out which one. And I don't have a ton of, thought or way either for which one to go with.
So I think in conclusion, we're basically in agreement on don't know which one. They probably should be owned in case there is like someone who breaks out because they've been an effective running team over the last 2 seasons and even recently despite the injuries on the offensive line. But in the end, it's just biting our teeth and biting our nails and waiting for Omarion Hampton to come back.
Yeah. So, and hopefully it is only a 4-week injury too. So this is another thing where I'm not going out there and spending, 70% of my fab dollars, 60% of my fab dollars for a guy that will essentially be there for 4-5 weeks. And then once Hampton gets back, you expect him to be kind of back into that workhorse running back.
Yeah, exactly. So because it's short term, hopefully you can find an option to fill that spot if you are an Omarion Hampton owner. And I mean, I'm sure we can bring up a couple other guys we get down to waiver wire later. Maybe it's a trade for someone who you can find kind of cheap right now. But again, if you have that situation, we're always willing to answer some questions, give you some guidance on that one. A lot of running back news I just realized on here. So I want to go to New England, where Antonio Gibson tore his ACL on a kick return on Sunday. What does this mean for Henderson and Stevenson? Since we saw yet another Ramondre Stevenson fumble, but he did score 2 touchdowns.
I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, I think it just, it limits the as many mouths to feed. And Henderson looks good, but it's still not like the full. I don't know if he just hasn't fully earned the coaching staff's trust, if they like the veteran in Stevenson, even though he has fumbled. And I thought the biggest tell was like late in that Sunday night game when they were trying to essentially bleed the clock, not give the opportunity back to the Buffalo Bills. It was still, despite the fumbling issues, it was still Stevenson out there. So I think Henderson still has potential to break out, but it seems like it is a very, you're playing red or black, like you're playing roulette. Which one's going to score the touchdown, Stevenson or Henderson? Stevenson got 2 this week. Henderson might get 2 next week, and Stevenson doesn't get any. So like it's going to be like a shot in the dark. You're not going to have much confidence until something changes over the next couple of weeks. But despite fumbling 10 times in his last 20 games or some crazy number like that, he is still appears to be their top guy.
I don't quite get how, and I feel like a lot of people don't get how because it's just a ridiculous rate for fumbles. But I mean, we also have to think new coaching staff, like, the previous 2 regimes, if Stevenson got into the situation, they were quick to like, you're sitting for the rest of this game because we can't do this. And then, Vrabel doesn't seem to have as short of a leash on him. Maybe it's because he thinks Stevenson is what's right for that offense. And he needs to just hope he can hold on to the ball. But I have to believe that Henderson, as he gets up to speed, should get more carries. He will get more carries alone because Gibson's not in there now. I'm not thinking he's somebody who you're going to expect to just boom right up to the top and be like an RB2, but he's somebody who I'm kind of intrigued on. Like, if you can get him for someone that's borderline droppable right now, like super cheap, or if you have him on your roster, you're definitely holding him, and you're going to see if there's what kind of upward trajectory you get over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and excuse me, in our league of record, I believe it is like I am hurting at running back where like it's Henderson or Bill is like which RB2 do I want to start?
Bill had a great week though.
He had a great week, but that's another messy backfield of who's
Yeah.
going to get the touchdown. So it's a lot of like taking shots in the dark, and I do think Henderson long term will have more upside and could be a guy that we're talking about as potential like playoff winner or help one of the guys that helps you get into the league. But you just might have to be more patient, and if you don't have time to wait, I mean we're 5 weeks in through the fantasy football season. Like if you're sitting at 1-4, 0-5, even 2-3, and like there's a lot of top guys, and then you have to make some moves. Like you might not be able to wait on Travion Henderson. Unfortunately, his value is not super high, but you might have to make moves and not play for the future, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you kind of have to see how you want to play your chess chips, chess pieces, poker chips. I don't know where my mind was trying to go on that one, but
It's Monday. It's all good.
exactly, it's Monday. It's very Monday-y Monday. But anyway, yeah, Henderson is somebody I like to buy if you are in a good situation. That's a good way to put it. If you are chasing wins, hopefully you can get some kind of value for a guy like that right now. Speaking of top end running backs, we're going to Philly. Saquon Barkley did not participate in practice on a simulated report on Monday with a knee injury. They have a report on Monday because they played the Thursday game this week. They call it general soreness, though. They say he should be good to go on Thursday, but obviously concerning for someone you draft as a first round pick on a short week.
Yeah, and I mean that was the reason why like Saquon wasn't the clear cut number one guy because of how much he was used last year, how much he was used versus how much he might be used this year. There was a lot of like, can he actually repeat that? That's why, but he was still consensus top 4 pick, I would say.
Yeah.
Pretty much in every league except your super flex leagues where that draft strategy goes all out the window. However, the thing that intrigues me most about this general knee soreness is I know the Broncos defense is really good. The Eagles offense has been struggling as of late, and there has been a lot of buzz around the wide receivers not happy with their situation. It seems like they tried to feature the wide receivers a good bit in the game against the Broncos, which might not be the best team to, test their passing defense.
I agree.
But he only had 9 touches on Sunday. So to come away from that game with only 9 touches with general knee soreness, that's kind of where the red flag goes off for me. Maybe that played a reason into why he only had 9 touches. Maybe it happened early in the game and it hasn't been clarified yet, or maybe it has been by the time you're listening to it. But it's definitely something to monitor, to watch. But as long as Barkley's out there, he's in your lineup.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to do with that. Do you like any of the backup options if he doesn't go, meaning AJ Dillon or Will Shipley, seemingly? Those are the two that got field time with the offense last week.
Maybe Shipley.
See, I'm leaning maybe Dillon because I'm trying to steal a touchdown.
You're not going to steal a touchdown, though.
You say that, but they haven't run a tush push in 2 weeks. I know that seems crazy. They haven't.
Okay. Yeah. If they get to the 1 yard line and it's AJ Dillon or Jalen Hurts, they're going to run the tush push.
I know that, but if they inside the 10, unless they're in an and one situation, they'd still run the ball, which is where Barkley gets his touchdowns typically, unless he hits a home run or catches the one deep ball that they completed this past week, which was strange. So I still think if you're in the red zone and they're going to have a handoff, Dillon's that guy.
Yeah, I just think there would be more opportunity for Will Shipley. And also just to sure, they didn't run a tush push last week or maybe technically 2 weeks ago, but they also ran a fake tush push handoff to Saquon Barkley for a touchdown. So
fair statement.
they're making plays, and I mean their offense has just been so disjointed. They need to figure something out.
Yeah. So you're leaning towards avoiding the backs, or you're saying if you have to, Shipley?
I'm probably not. I mean, I know it's the Giants, so part of you wants that matchup.
Yeah.
But I feel like if Saquon doesn't go, I'm not forcing a Eagles running back in my lineup just because.
Okay.
I fully expect him to go though. So.
Yeah, me too. And we saw even on limited touches, he still had a solid fantasy week, and he's not been effective this year too well, and still. Yeah. Moving on to Joe Mixon. So I don't really have an update on Joe Mixon, but I kind of have an update on Joe Mixon. So they've been asking, if he's going to be available or not. They say he's not available yet. And then some of the whispers coming out of Texans camp is he's not going to be available for the foreseeable future and potentially not this season. I feel like we know absolutely nothing about what this foot injury is. We got, very little information going into the season. And then he was just always going to miss the first 4 weeks at least. And now we're still getting nothing. I think we're going to have to start looking at this is going to be a Chubb and Mark's backfield.
Yeah. I mean, even during the draft season, there was the rumblings that he might not play all year. So you literally took him as a shot in the dark. I mean, there's a reason why he was going in the double-digit rounds. If there was any chance that he'd be back even after 8 weeks, you imagine him still going before round 10 because of the quality that he is. But with the last, no update situation, I think at this point, you shouldn't rely on Joe Mixon. If you have him, he's in your IR spot and he can just cruise there the rest of the year. And if he comes back, great. But it is starting to seem less and less likely.
Is he droppable if you have someone else that has to go in an IR spot and he has to sit on your bench?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a question we're going to get, so I'm glad we said that. Can we go to a fan question here quick as well?
Of course.
All right. Basher on Twitch. What is the Isaiah Bond hype right now?
All right. So the Isaiah Bond hype stems from a couple things. So one, he's super fast and he's a big play guy. And there's been a lack of, Jerry Jeudy, the top guy there. It's been a lot of tight ends, Harold Fanning, David Njoku. But this is also a guy that has seen his targets increase each and every week, including last week, although he only had 2 catches for 29 yards. So definitely does not feel like a good day. He saw 8 targets coming off a week where he saw 6 targets. So and that is with new quarterback Dylan Gabriel. So that is his target increase has carried over new quarterback. So I think that's just kind of the hype there. He has playmaking ability. He was a very talented wide receiver that got into some legal issues, which is why he fell undrafted. He's probably a second round pick, maybe a late first round pick if he had a clean slate. So like that's the kind of skill talent he has. So I think that's where a lot of the buzz is, just trying to find pieces all together there in Cleveland. Um,
Mhm.
I'm taking it all very lightly because I'm not a big believer in Dylan Gabriel, or I should not even just say his name, the Cleveland Browns offense as a whole. So I don't think there's a ton of points there. Like I like Quinshon Judkins and the tight ends, and that's kind of where I'm at with Cleveland.
Yeah, I added him in some deeper leagues or some dynasty leagues where he was still available, because the target share seems to be there. And he's still ramping up too, because he got signed very late in camp because of all his issues. Um, so he still has a chance to be peaking this year later. And the fact that they have the faith in him that he's getting the 8 targets in a game at this point, I think he led the team, makes you at least have to look at him. Even if he's on a bad offense, a wide receiver one on a bad offense still has a chance to be somebody you could potentially flex.
Yeah, and you said should you sign him? Your current wide receivers are Pittman, Devontae Adams, and at flex you have Xavier Worthy. If you don't mind me doing, can I put my team in the chat and you can read it? Yeah, please do. We love when you throw your teams out there. It just gives us a better perspective of him, because I'd love to know if you have any other guys on there. But I'll give you some time to type that out, and we can revisit that question, George, if that's cool with you.
That works. I have one more injury update here as we're in the what's happening. So we can go to Vegas, where Brock Bowers was kind of like a late scratch. He missed week 5 with a knee injury. This is the same knee injury he's been dealing with since week 2. And they really say that the only thing that's going to heal it is rest. And he hasn't really been willing to sit with it. He's been trying to play through it. And now he finally did have a situation where he must have had enough inflammation, whatever, that he sat. Unsure of his week 6 status, but at least that sounds like a good sign where it's not going to be a long-term issue, especially if he sits and like lets it heal for at least another week, hopefully.
I mean, I think there's definitely concern, and the way it sounds too is like, okay, he might play in week 6, but if it gets twisted or turns the wrong way, is he coming out in the first quarter? Is he coming out? Now, granted, this is the tight end position, so Brock Bowers is going. I'm going to put him in my lineup because there isn't a ton of super elite tight ends. But I think where it gets interesting though, if like maybe you doubled up because you took a flyer on a Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, or maybe you even got in on the Harold Fanning Jr., like with the questionable status of Brock Bowers, does that make you uh intrigued enough to not play him? But I think that answer can only come as we get more information as you get closer to game time.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a week to week basis on that one, but I'm almost in the situation where if Bowers is still going to claim the heft on the trade market that he had before the injury, and you have one of those guys you mentioned, Tyler Warren, who's been very good, if you can go out there and pick up Darren Waller, I'm even considering at this point, honestly, maybe you can try to fill another spot on your roster and make a big trade.
Yeah, I think if you can do that, sure. I think trading a tight end can always be difficult, so to speak, because some people believe them to have different value and whatnot. And now that he is banged up, it might be hard to, get a splash play. But if you could go out and get, a middle tier running back or a middle tier wide receiver, it might be worth doing.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, we go back to the question here before we get out of news.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that roster. We got Mahomes at quarterback, Javonte Williams for RB1, Cam Scadaboo, I'm assuming,
Yep.
for RB2, and then Pittman, Adams, and Worthy, Aubrey, Dallas Goddard, and then obviously Waller is in there as well, and then Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a solid team there. Um, I feel like there might be like a piece or two that you know, you can drop to go up and get, but I don't see like Isaiah Bond, back to your original question, being a guy that I'm swapping in for any of your current starters. But if you as bye weeks come up, like Pittman and Adams seem like every week starters at this point. So it's kind of that Xavier Worthy, like maybe if you're worried about when Rashee Rice comes back in 2 more weeks, that he might, take a step back. But again,
I still don't think that
the
much. Like, he's kind of going to be the big play guy. He's going to be inconsistent, but he's going to be a solid play.
yeah, I was gonna say I still like the and he just threw in there he has Rice on your reserve. So yeah, I think your team is solid. So I actually like the Pittman Adams Rice thing coming up in a little bit. So yeah, I'm not trying to jump on this Isaiah Bond hype train. It's still the Cleveland Browns offense. They're still struggling to put up more than like 14 points a game. So
yeah, I think I would hold with kind of what you have if that's the case. It's nice I see you have George Kittle on reserve as well, which that's a deep tight end room there too. You might be able to make a move similar to what we were talking about in the past, in that last segment with Bowers once Kittle is back.
All right, is that everything for what's happening? Are we time for a reality check?
I think it's time for a reality check. All right, I'm gonna start you off with a juicy one, and I think it's one that I know your answer to. So if you didn't see in the early morning game on Sunday, the Vikings at one point were going for an extra or a field goal attempt, and had the field goal hit one of the wires holding up the RoboCam. Refs didn't catch it. Kick missed. No good. Now I'm going to ask you. You can take this question however you want to. Should we expand replay assist to be able to even find things like that, or is there anything else even that you want replay assist to be able to handle?
Okay, that is a multi-layered question. So first of all, I believe, and maybe I misread Twitter, which is definitely possible. I believe somebody said that there wasn't a clear and obvious angle of it hitting the wire.
It looked pretty clear and obvious to me, but that's just me as a
I get that
random podcast host here.
But we know what a catch is like in the NFL. So
that's a fair statement too.
So do I think so? They should have been able to look at that, right? Like I know there is like you can't review if it like went over the because there's no clear angle of like straight up the upright, right? So the balls that go right over, it's literally up to the official that is looking straight up because he essentially has the best view. There's no angles for that.
Yeah.
Hitting a wire, it should be a re-kick, just like hitting the scoreboard in Dallas. Like we've seen that many times. It's a repunt, so to speak. Yeah. Now, should replay assist be expanded in general?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you a question. Did we not talk this offseason about how like they could, pick up penalties and do all that kind of stuff with replay assist? Have they done that once this year?
Yeah, I actually saw one this week.
So that was the first time?
An intentional grounding in the Eagles and Broncos game.
Okay. Intentional grounding, I'm taking that out because they don't know what that is either. That's like worse.
They really don't. It was like it took them like 3 minutes to even make the call, and then replay assist picked it up, and they didn't even announce it.
Yeah. So what I need replay assist to get better. Yeah. I need them to decide within like if the 60-second window, I guess 40 seconds, because that's the next play clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want them to review it. Like it's either we're changing it or we're not. No replay assist. Let's review that. If we're going to expand it, let's do that. And let's I go back and forth though, because there's a part of me that's like, I want to get as much right as possible. Like what game was it that there was like the massive face mask that was missed? Maybe the Colts game or something like that. Literally, the running back's head turned 270 degrees, and they didn't call it, right? And it's like, okay, replay assist clearly saw that. We could. I understand if you want to throw the flag, but then you start that bad precedence of, do you throw the flag for everything? Like there's holding on every play. Like where do you draw the line? So I think as much as I would like to get more things correct, I almost wish we would, review less.
I get it because of the speed of the game. And I'll say like replay assist in terms of like reviewing catches and spots and stuff in certain cases has been fantastic because it's been able to allow coaches to not have to review certain plays. And some of it's been very fast where it's like they spot a ball and then immediately as they spot the ball, the replay assist calls down and said, no, it's going here. Like some of those cases, I feel like they really have it down and it's been fast. But I guess when it comes to the like other parts of the game, like the, picking up flags, it still is a work in progress. And I do think there's certain flags, and it stinks because it already is at the point where like replay assist can pick up certain flags and not others. But I feel like there's certain cases where replay assist should be able to put down flags too. And one of them is a face mask because that's a very clear and obvious penalty. And if the ref misses a blatant face mask, it's easy to be like, this isn't objective. This is just the correct call. It's a face mask. Same thing with like a horse collar tackle, for example, or a helmet to helmet hit. Like I think those are the three things that come to my mind immediately when I'm like, if replay assist would throw a flag for those, you can see pretty clearly and obviously that is a flag and it should have been thrown on the field. But I get what you're saying, how it needs to improve first. So maybe we wait 2-3 years, see how this goes with, having this new rule that just went in a few weeks ago, and then try to see what we can do to build upon it.
You know what else?
What?
This goes above replay assist. You know what else I want to get rid of? I want to get rid of the ref in the booth. I'm so tired of the announcers going, "Well, I think that's a flag. Terry, what did you see?" And there was nothing called. There was nothing this. And then I know literally what it does is it causes drama. It causes talking points and it causes more clicks for the NFL. I get why it's there from a business perspective, but it's becoming so annoying and frustrating that after every play, it feels like we have to get the ref in the booth's opinion on, was it a flag? What would you have done there? Would you have called a flag? I don't know about that one.
The funniest thing is too, like you say, oh yeah, it gets clicks and everything else for the NFL, but the NFL is the league that is like the most critical about people criticizing it. And then it has its own TV networks with that guy who criticizes it in real time. And it kind of surprises me that they allow it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think because it causes controversy and it causes, the things that people love. But I'm just tired of it's literally like one of the most annoying things on a Sunday for me is let's go to the booth here. What did you see there? And especially like when they get the call right or wrong, or even if, I mean, because we all do it too. You get a call right, you get a call wrong. You're sitting there and it's like, oh, that was definitely pass interference. And then like the person in the booth will be like, oh, by the letter of the law, he put his left hand on his right hip and slightly turned him. I'm like, bro, that didn't affect anything. Like, just move
Pass
on.
interference is one of the most infuriating penalties in all of sports, not even just the football.
So there, that's I think that causes more problems if we expand replay assist. So I'm just like, again, have 3 dudes watching the game eating some wings. Be like, was that a penalty? Yes. Was that a catch? Yes. It'll be so much faster and so much more accurate
We volunteer as tribute.
for this,
Yeah,
not to play
exactly.
Hunger Games.
No, definitely not that. No, to be the dudes eating wings, watching games, and saying if it's a penalty or not.
So,
Do you want to hit a couple of fan comments, questions here?
yeah, sure.
All right. I'll go back to Bash one more time here. He is 0-4. He's losing 70-120. Has the Chiefs defense, Patrick Mahomes, and Xavier Worthy yet to play. What kind of odds you give him to win?
Unless you play in like a random league that has like weird bonuses, not very, very good. I mean, even, let's think best case scenario, Patrick Mahomes throws 2 touchdowns to Xavier Worthy. You're probably looking at that's probably what you're gonna need. 2 touchdowns to Xavier Worthy and not to be a shootout game, to keep that Chiefs defense down. Because even 2 touchdowns, you're probably looking at like a 25-20 performance, and that's 45 points, and you'll need the 5 from the defense there. So I'll give you a 37% chance.
I was going to go 30. So you're a little more optimistic than me, but hoping you for the best of luck. Being 0-5 is a rough spot to be in, but you'll get there. We'll move over to Cross on Twitch or crossed, my bad. Would y'all do Dowdle for Waller if you have Bowers? My other running backs are Josh Jacobs, Achan, Chase Brown, and Rashad White.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Chuba did not go on IR. He just missed a week.
Correct.
I don't think I'd do it. I know Dowdle
I'm
just
keeping Waller.
I know Dowdle just had the massive 200-yard rushing game. Also, it was against the Miami Dolphins. But I think Chuba's going to be back in the mix, even if they slow play it for a couple weeks and like do like more 50-50. Like Chuba's their guy. You have Josh Jacobs, you have Achan. I know Chase Brown has been a massive disappointment just because the whole Bengals offense has struggled mightily. And then Rashad White, I mean, that's the same situation. Like he becomes basically irrelevant once Bucky Irvin comes back. I mean,
you already have Dowdle by having Rashad White. The way I look at it.
But Rashad White's on a better offense.
That's true too. And there's a chance that if Waller keeps this up, he can be potentially flexible. Like he's a red zone threat and a half right now, and they're on a team who needs to fill targets because they lost Tyreek Hill.
And we also just talked about how Bowers has some, questionable injury concerns revolving around his knee. So you have the guy to spot start until you feel comfortable with Bowers going forward. So this is not a trade I would make.
Yeah. All right, cool. I know we're going to talk about the Monday night game later, but I figure we can take a couple of seconds. You got any locks for an anytime touchdown scorer for tonight?
Ooh, locks for an anytime touchdown scorer. This is a great question. I feel like the easy answer is ETN.
Yeah.
So I'll take him as a quote unquote of a lock. I'm going to throw a flyer out there for one, Mr. This is like my long, I don't know what the odds are, but like the guy that I'm like, give me a Travis Hunter makes a primetime touchdown. So that's my fun one.
Trade in fantasy, trading away Calvin Ridley for Travis Hunter and a change of scenery. It worked for one of them. Can it work for both?
So,
I like your ETN pick. My other guy that may be a little bit of a longer shot, but whatever, on the Jag side would be Brenton Strange.
Yeah. So, and then the Chiefs side, that one's tough, like, because they spread the ball so much around. I think I would probably leave that side alone. I mean, someone's going to have to score, so maybe I feel like I'd say Travis Kelce and it'd be a Noah Gray. So like that's just where
I'm feeling Xavier Worthy breaking something.
Okay.
That's what I'm feeling.
Do you this is just fun to talk about now. Now that you think the turnovers continue for Jacksonville, like you think you get like a Jags DST? Like super high flyer,
putting like a buck on it.
Could be a fun one, but no, yeah. I would say ETN would be my quote unquote lock.
Yeah.
Gamble responsibly.
Yeah. They saw a lot of people betting on Tyquan Thornton for the touchdown. Is he the third receiver for the G? Yes. Maybe even fourth. I don't really know how their wide receiver depth chart works because Hollywood and Juju kind of mix in. I think Thornton's better when they don't have Xavier Worthy in there. Thornton is worthy.
Yeah. I would say he's currently probably their wide receiver 3B or 4, depending on how you view like Hollywood Brown. Because I think right now it's Xavier, probably Juju. Like I feel like his targets are still relatively high. And I'm just talking receivers here, so I'm not including Kelce. And then it's like Hollywood Brown or Tyreek Thornton. Thornton just has the more splash plays because his 2 targets might end up for 70 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. All right. Moving back to YouTube, Tyler said, do I drop any of these players for Brashad Smith? Love or Fields, Trey Tucker, Wan'Dale Robinson, Rashid Shaheed. I know that backfield in KC is kind of a mess right now.
I would pick him up, and I would probably drop. I'm assuming if you're saying Love or Fields, I would assume that you already have another quarterback, or maybe you're going back and forth between those two. But I think I know Shaheed just had a big play touchdown, but like that's what you get from him. Like, how many of those can he have in a? He's not a big target guy. And then Trey Tucker, the Raiders look pretty bad. So I'd say pick your favorite between Trey Tucker and Rashid Shaheed. Drop the other one and pick up Rashad Smith as potential longer term, more solid, reliable guy in the coming weeks. If you needed a guy next week, I'm probably not going Rashad Smith in that situation.
Yeah. He says he does have both right now. That's just 2 quarterbacks. He's doing it for streaming. I'm kind of keeping both of them as well then at that point. I am also between Tucker and Shaheed, and I think I'm dropping Shaheed because, yeah, he did just have that really big week, but he's going to go disappear for another 4 weeks, come back and have another long touchdown. Like, it's exactly what he is. I liked it better when they had a solid quarterback there. He would do it more consistently. He's going to do that like 3 times this year, and that's probably it. So I'm keeping Trey Tucker myself, dropping Shaheed to get Smith. We got one more here. 12-team redraft. Kyler and Herbert are my quarterbacks. Will either quarterback turn around the performance and become a breakout quarterback?
Well, I saw an interesting stat today, and I wish I would have saved the tweet. I'm going to. My numbers might not be correct, but in the 6 seasons that Andrew Luck played, he was sacked or hit. Excuse me, not sacked, but hit 580 times, and that's why he decided not to play. Currently, in Justin Herbert's 6 seasons, he's on pace to be hit like 620 times, somewhere around there. So their offensive line is struggling. They've already lost Rashawn Slater at the start of the season. Joe Alt has been out, and I just don't know if, like, I think Justin Herbert is super talented. But like when I watch you have Quentin Johnston, you have Keenan Allen, you have Lad McConkey, and you can only score 10 points because you're running for your life back there against the Washington Commanders, which they have an okay defensive line, but they're not like a scary secondary. Like you think that they could be able to like get the ball out quick and eat them up. I just think it's tough. And then Kyler Murray, like the last 2 weeks for the Cardinals, like seem like, I don't know, that game might have broke them against the Titans.
Yeah.
Like that was
concerning.
Like an all-time blunder.
Your defense made the play it needed to, and it turned into an even worse play than if you just allowed it. Like, it's crazy how they can intercept a ball, fumble for a touchdown.
Right. Like but it's crazy if like you see it's 21-6, and if you like freeze frame it one step before DeMarcado drops the ball, it's like looks like he's about to score 21-6 with like 5 minutes left, and they lost. Yeah. Like, so to answer your question, I know I kind of went on a tangent there. I don't know if any of them will turn it around. I'm probably dropping Herbert at this point. Kyler's rushing ability still makes it hard for me to say completely give up on him. But if you have guys out there like, Justin Fields, they don't score a lot of points, but he runs the ball. I don't know if he'll have a quote unquote breakout season now that he's 0-26 when one of the other team scores 21 or more points. But like even like a Sam Darnold, who had a really, a solid game. Yes, he threw the pick. That would be another guy. Jordan Love has some upcoming matchups. CJ Stroud starting to turn around. And those were guys that weren't drafted. Maybe even like a Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, if they're kind of available. So
I've seen Matt Stafford available in a lot of leagues, and he's someone I would consider too.
Yeah, and I'm not saying those guys are better quarterbacks than Justin Herbert, but I'm saying in terms of fantasy and where they're at right now, I kind of lean trying something else.
I'm with what you said there, Cody, so I'll leave it, and thank you for the comments there, everybody. We'll get back to that as we go. Why don't you rapid fire a couple of questions with me here, Cody, as a reality check as we get back.
Okay, so your first question, is Stephon Diggs a top buy low candidate?
I don't know about top, but I do think he's a buy low candidate. I think they need somebody in that offense to step up, and it finally looks like he's done it for 2 straight weeks, so I'm hoping, but I'm not spending a lot.
Do you have any concern that like he's gonna, like, because it was the Bills? Obviously, you said 2 weeks, but like because it was the Bills.
Yeah. Revenge games are an interesting thing. That's a great point. But I mean, I'm trying to go back and see if I can figure out what his targets were 2 weeks ago too. But it's an offense that we thought it's better than we thought it was going to be, which is why I have hope that he's going to at least be, potentially flexible through bye weeks. And then hopefully he's in that situation now with, after bye weeks when you get into the fantasy playoffs, if you need him, you can flex him too. But he's definitely not the same player we've seen over the last few years either. That's kind of where he was drafted too.
Yeah, I mean, if you could throw him in as a trade to be an extra kicker, do it. But let's talk. Are the Patriots a legit playoff contender?
I still find it hard to believe, but the door's open now that the Dolphins aren't there.
Yeah, I think they are a legit playoff contender. Now, what does that mean? That means that they are going to be in the running for a playoff spot, most likely. Not saying they're going to win the division. I know they just beat the Bills. I'm not saying that. But when you have the Dolphins falling apart, when you have the Cincinnati Bengals need a quarterback and life and just a lot of things, when you have the Ravens can't stop anybody and their quarterback's hurt, like those are like three teams right there that were like we all consider would be a playoff, contention. The Chargers are falling apart. Like this this year alone, and especially in the AFC, feels very wide open. And the way their defenses are playing, the way Drake May is looking to take that second year step, it's hard for me to not say they're not at least playing like a legit playoff contender. Does that mean a one and done wild card? Probably, but at least they'll make the playoffs or be in contention.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, in contention, now that I'm looking at standings, it is crazy to me. At this point, it looks almost like an inevitable that there's going to be three teams from the AFC West in the playoffs: the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. And then
Maybe the Chargers
maybe,
are. I know they're 3-2, but they have gotten banged up. They now lost to Marion Hampton. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Could only score 10 points at home against the Commanders.
mm-hmm,
Like they lost to the Giants.
it's fair. So let's say, so right now they're leading a division. That's why I didn't think too much into that. But yes, so let's just say, okay, we're looking at two spots, because the Broncos/Chiefs will be one of the wild card spots. Those two spots will either be the Chargers, the Jags. I can throw the Texans in that mix because they're starting to turn it around. You got those Bengals, Ravens, who are both struggling really bad, and I don't know if we have a lot of faith in either of them. And then it's the Patriots.
Ravens still have the best odds to win their division. Did you know that?
They're 2.5 games on the Steelers.
Yeah, but according to I think it was DraftKings, maybe FanDuel, none of them are a sponsor. They were still had the I think they were plus 105 to win the division, which
Man, I
was
might
still
take the
below.
Steelers in that bet if they're like
They
that's
they weren't
crazy.
they weren't much off. Like I think like the Steelers were probably like plus 150, but
But
it
if
was
you're saying I can more than double my money with a 2.5 game lead at this point, I like it.
yeah, maybe that's just changed since this morning, but that was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, interesting for sure.
Maybe on Thursday, we're kind of like a third of the way through the season. Maybe we'll just like have an impromptu segment where we go through all the teams and like maybe like a hot and cold scale or like legit or not or something like that. We'll think of a fun name for it.
Sounds good. Maybe if you show up more than 2.5 minutes before the episode starts.
Busy week, busy week.
I'm messing with you. You're good.
Once we get to November, I'll be good.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. You only got 2 months to. I'm kidding. 1 month to grind through with me here. But on to the Bengals. Because we just mentioned, should the Bengals trade for a quarterback?
I'm gonna say yes or no. How do I want to say this so this clip will go viral? I'm just kidding. I'm not even gonna think like that. Should they trade for a quarterback? They got to try something. Even I was on here, like I was like, look what Jake Browning did 2 years ago when Joe Burrow got hurt. He actually was playing pretty solid football. He actually got them a couple wins. And it's just been abysmal. He can't stop throwing interceptions, can't stop turning the ball over. I mean, heck, Jamar Chase almost had 30 fantasy points this week in half point PPR because they got down behind so much and he ended up catching 2 touchdowns. So, like, his stat line looked okay to save it. The problem is they don't have a lot of people on there. I think they have Mike White. I forget who the other person is, and Sean Clifford as like their potential quarterbacks. I mean, I would love to see Sean Clifford play against Green Bay in this upcoming week. But there is one person that this Cincinnati Bengals team should trade for. He is currently sitting as quarterback 3 in New York.
Yep.
Jameis Winston would be so much fun with Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, and T. Higgins and Chase Brown. He is probably going to throw just as many interceptions as Drake Browning, but it'd be so much more fun. He would, bring life into that team. I think Cincinnati should go out and do that.
I agree, because the way I look at it, Jameis Winston is a better version of Jake Browning with personality. He has a chance to lift the locker room. He's going to throw the ball everywhere. I think he has a better chance of throwing the ball everywhere to his own team, even though he's going to throw as many interceptions. Like, I think it ups their point output. I think that makes sense to me. I don't think it makes sense. The other guy who's out there is Kirk, and I think it would be too irresponsible to dump as much as they would need to trade for Kirk. And I don't even know if the Falcons would move him. But Jameis Winston makes way too much sense because there's no reason for the Giants to not trade him.
Yeah, I think Jameis Winston to the Bengals needs to happen yesterday.
I'll clip this, and when they do that trade, you and I can bask in the glory on your viral clip that you wanted so bad.
Make sure you like and subscribe at the Couch Champs. Thank you.
And make sure you spread this when that does inevitably happen. Moving to Miami, is Jalen Waddle a mainstay fantasy wide receiver 2 without Tyreek Hill? He dropped 20 and half PPR this week.
I also believe he had like 10 targets, which was fascinating.
And much better than it has been.
He did have 20 points, but he got that big play touchdown. I think the 46-yard touchdown. So literally half his points came on one play. So
which is how he's going to be too.
Right. But we're talking wide receiver 2 flexible. I think you definitely feel a lot better about playing him now that Tyreek Hill is gone. The thing that scares you the most is how well Darren Waller has looked. Like, and being like a guy that they target in the red zone and stuff like that, eating up at some of those potentials. And like in terms of like fantasy output, he might be the third best option behind Achane and Waller after 2 weeks. But yeah, Waddle, wide receiver 2. I would agree with that, like for sure. Well, I mean, I'd play Waddle over Stephon. So people are talking about like buying now too. So
yeah,
just for some
no, at the worst, I'm like Waddle is an every week flex. I think at this point, because you saw the targets are there now that they have, and they need him so bad in Miami, I'm not too worried about the not having red zone touchdown potential. He's still going to get a couple. And I was surprised to see how many red zone touchdowns their receivers got even before this whole thing went down. Like, it doesn't feel like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle should be red zone touchdown threats, but they still caught some. He's going to get his work with the big play. He's going to break off once a game and hopefully for a touchdown too.
Alrighty, our last reality check question. I am going to ask it to you, and then I'm going to amend it. Okay? So the question is Emeka Egbuka the Bucks wide receiver 1?
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, you're not going to amend it right away?
No, I was going to let you answer this question, then I'm going to amend it.
Okay. I have wanted to say no for this entire time, and now that I've seen him come back and outperform Godwin, and I can even argue he was outperforming Mike Evans when Mike Evans was in there, I'm going to say yes.
Okay. I think to answer the question, yes. When Mike Evans comes back, I'll have another conversation, but he is still a solid option. I was never a big fan of Chris Godwin this year. I loved Emeka Egbuka coming out, so this isn't that all surprising. I mean, he's playing lights out. He's on pace for Offensive Rookie of the Year for sure. But I think he is the wide receiver 1 right now. But I'm going to amend this and not be about Emeka Egbuka. Is Baker Mayfield the MVP of the league? Let me read you his stats.
Okay.
Through 5 weeks, 1,283 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, no picks a year after leading the NFL interceptions, 104 passer rating, a 4-1 record that includes all fourth quarter comebacks.
And should have even been another one, but they had a field goal blocked. He could be right now. And I haven't thought MVP yet. Like, it's kind of early and you haven't really seen a lot of odds come out yet. But you know what? I can't think of a guy who has been as good consistently. I mean, I guess my next guy is Josh Allen because, he's always in that conversation. But after he just had a dud and Baker Mayfield went off and won another shootout in the fourth quarter comeback, I think Baker has the edge.
Yeah, I think he's at least your September MVP. What does that mean in December when it's time to vote? We'll have to wait and see. The Bucks play in the AFC or the NFC South, so it seems like they're already a lock at 4 wins to make the playoffs. However, the Panthers did come back, so I should give them a shout out for that. But because of all the fourth quarter comebacks, like that's impressive. But you feel like eventually that's going to catch up on you. Like the team that's 8-0.
Don't say that to the Chiefs last year.
It eventually caught up on them. It might have been the last game of the
season.
It
was in the Super Bowl, but you're right. I guess it did.
And like what was it? The Minnesota Vikings the one year they were 8-0 in 1-score games or something like that, and then got to the playoffs and lost a 1-score game. Like
to the Giants, even, right?
I believe that was the same season.
Yeah.
So, like, there's definitely some concerns about I want to see the Bucks take a lead and win the game from the beginning, and I'm sure they will in the upcoming weeks. But Baker Mayfield's playing lights out right now, so had to throw that in there.
All right, Cody, plenty of good talk so far, but we're already over 50 minutes in, and we haven't even hit the waiver wire yet. So why don't we get going? I didn't even realize it. That graphic is spelled wrong.
ChatGPT, bro.
You get to make it again. Congratulations. Okay. Let's start with running backs on the waiver wire, and I'm going to go to Arizona, where you and I were in the whole debate of Michael Carter versus Amari DeMarcado last week. DeMarcado didn't get a whole lot of work most of the game, and then when he did, he broke the long play that he dropped at the half-yard line. Shout out to anybody who played him and missed out on those points.
That was 13 points right there out the window.
Yeah.
It actually went from 13 points to I guess he still got the 70
yards.
The 70 rushing yards, but then lost 2 for a fumble in most scoring. So went from a 13-point play to a 5-point play.
Yeah, it was a great time. That's basically all he did most of the game, if I'm not mistaken, too. So it was not a great time. Anyway, we also had a Bam Knight touchdown, which I don't think anyone expected a Bam Knight touchdown. But Michael Carter seems like he's going to be the guy that you can rely on the most in fantasy until we get back Trey Benson. Yeah,
he'd be the top guy I'd go pick up. Like, I don't know if you saw the clips of Gannon getting after DeMarcado. I don't know why I cannot pronounce that man's name. On the sideline, like if he was cut tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's how irate he was. I don't think he's actually going to be.
No.
But I definitely think like Michael Carter is going to be the quote unquote starter moving forward until Benson is back.
DeMarcado did a great job of handling himself in the post-game press conference too. So if you didn't see that, go check it out. It was 100% professional. Props to him for being able to actually even stand up and talk to the press after that happens, and then your team loses the game too. It's a rough time.
For sure.
I'm throwing another name on here again that we've had you before, and that's Kendre Miller. Just a reminder, he had his snap count go up again this week. He still had 11 touches. And we have to think Alvin Kamara is still on the trade block. So he's your future add and hold.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple like add and hold players on here that we still have not gotten the win you a fantasy person yet. I mean, maybe it will end up being this week, whether that is a Kamani Vidal or Hassan Haskins like we talked about earlier. We still like Michael Carter there. Rico Dowdle. I mean, if this Chuba thing lingers and he continues to play the same way, maybe he does. But he wasn't placed on IR, and it would be kind of crazy to do it now because he already missed a game. Like that would have been like a thing so I expect him to be back as well. So that's kind of the running back situation.
Yeah, exactly. I have Dowdle on there because it's hard to not put the guy that led running backs in points last week, but I could see him being completely irrelevant or at least just a bench and hold and see what the split's like, even as soon as this week. So, and I have a similar guy to lead off wide receivers when it comes to Kendrick Bourne, because, Niners playing on that short week, we're down 2 wide receivers. Kendrick Bourne was the leading guy and he had 10 catches. But if any of those guys are back, I think Kendrick Bourne's right back to like droppable. Pearsall or Jennings both being out is what made that possible.
Yeah. And I think he's worth an add and see kind of how they play out. Is Pearsall's going to miss more time. Jennings, coming off the 10-day break. But I'm with you there. And I think similarly, I think he's a better long-term option, but Romeo Dobbs uh, had the 3 touchdowns in Dallas. The Packers had a bye, but Christian Watson's practice window did get open today, coming back from his ACL injury. And not that Christian Watson has ever been like a dominant fantasy guy. I mean, outside of that 4-week stretch his rookie year where he had, which was beautiful, so
It
much fun.
was.
But it's just more mouths to feed in that offense. So like I think Romeo Dobbs becomes very, touchdown dependent, and he's not going to catch 3 every game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, he's not my favorite, but when it comes to like guys off the wire right now, we're pretty, cutting it thin. So Dobbs is somebody who should be owned as a potential wide receiver 1 on a decent offense. And then we're looking at maybe on a worse offense, but the guy we're hoping is going to break out and he keeps getting some targets, but he's just coming back from injury is Xavier Legette for Carolina. I mean, Ted McMillan looks like he's finally starting to break out, but if they keep moving in a positive direction and Bryce Young keeps kind of adjusting how he has been the last few weeks, Xavier Legette has a chance to be someone who's potentially flexible through buys.
Yeah, and I'm still going to throw out there Jalen Coker. I still think he is the guy to own in Carolina. I know his practice window was opened as well. So it might be another week or two, and Legette has looked good the last 2 weeks. But there was so much buzz about where they were with Jalen Coker, and he even was flexible last year. So he might not be available because people have kept him in his IR spot, but if he is, I would definitely add him.
And then we got a couple of tight ends on here. I'm going to start with the tight end of the week with AJ Barner. I was surprised to see that he pulled in 2 touchdowns and 20.8 half PPR points. He actually has double-digit points 3 times this year. AJ Barner for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, he had to clarify which team he was on. The team that has 3 tight ends too. Like
That's true. I mean, we have Elijah Arroyo there as well, and I think there's a third I'm not even thinking of.
Yeah, what is the I'm gonna have to look it up now. That's gonna bother me. Keep talking about one Mr. AJ Barner.
So anyway, Barner, he is touchdown dependent, but it seems like he has been a red zone threat. So he's somebody who I think you can go out there and throw on the dartboard, but he's not really my high flying tight end of the week. But I wanted to give you guys an option out there. Do you have your answer before I move off of him? I'm trying to stall.
Eric, the other 2 names don't recognize them, so I guess it's just only those 2. Eric Sarber and Nick Callerup are the guys. So one of them will catch a touchdown just because, but
yeah, of course. But it's AJ Barner and Elijah Arroyo, the rookie, are the 2 there. But the big guy who I thought was going to be added in even a lot more places than he was last week, and then he pulls in another touchdown, Darren Waller, still under 40% owned in NFL.com leagues after dropping 2 straight 16-point games. Potential every week starter at the tight end position if this keeps up.
Yeah, and they like to use it. I think the only thing that concerns me about like the Dolphins is like how much Mike McDaniels likes to use the tight end and call plays for the tight ends, but how bad they're playing. Like if the Dolphins move on from him mid-season, like does that affect things? But you can't play fantasy going like what happens if the coach gets fired. So Waller's probably the top pickup of the week for me.
I also think talent might lift him to enough wins where he doesn't get fired early, but he might not make it past this year.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's all I've got on the waiver wire. And why don't we go ahead and really quickly hit Monday Night Football? I know we already talked a little bit about Chiefs at Jags. Jags 3.5-point underdogs and over under at 45.5. Anything you want to add on this one?
No, I think this game is really fascinating. I'm just trying to look here too to see if Xavier Worthy is go. I know he was a late add to questionable, but then there was reports that he should play today, but the inactive should be out. So just want to confirm that he is there, and he is going to play this week. He's officially active, so that's good to go. But yeah, this game should be a lot of fun. A true test for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Can the Chiefs continue to bounce back now that they have Worthy? Should be a good game. Looking forward to wrapping up this week 5. Also need them not to go off so I can win my dynasty league.
Yeah, exactly. I need Mahomes to not go off to win in the World Cup. So please no Patrick Mahomes scoring 29 or more points. That's pretty big number, but still.
Yep. All right, let me just check the Jags thing here. I can look at that, and I think we just got a fan question, George, if you want to throw that up.
We did. How's it going, Frizzle on YouTube? Would you all trade Keon Coleman and Jamison Williams for Bill?
Ooh, that is a tough one.
We got
Because it's
Bill coming on a high now because he just threw over 20 points up on the board.
yeah, and he looked good. He did have a fumble though. Wow, that is I don't know if I would do if you needed a running back, sure. Like Keon and Jamo are so fascinating because they are both high variance. Like I think Keon caught a touchdown this past week. Jamo didn't do much. Jamo's been pretty inconsistent. It's like inconsistency and inconsistency for inconsistency. But if you need a running back, I don't think it's a terrible value. But I'm a wide receiver guy, so I would keep them.
I feel like it's slightly steep, but if it keeps going the way it has been and you keep getting just a little bit more and a little bit more for Bill by the end of the year, I think that trade works out. I mean, Keon Coleman had 8 points this week. He did catch a touchdown, so that shows you how much he did outside of that. He has one game now over 10 points, and it was week 1. And then we got Jameson, who
I'm doing it.
When he has one game over 10 points as well. It was week 2. He had 1.5 this week. I think I'm doing it.
Yeah, the idea of Jamo and Keon are great, and there will be a week where they both get 20 points. Like that's going to happen. But I think consistency wise, like I think Bill might still have the lowest or the highest floor. Well, it's not very high, but of the 3, I think he has the highest floor. So I'll take that.
And if you have the running backs, if you need the running back, I should say. Yeah, I think it's a good move.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. Take a deep breath. We got through that and still almost our normal time, and get ready to read a super deep injury report on Thursday. I'm feeling, Cody.
I guess we'll have to wait and see about the injury report. We're going to talk all the week 6 games. Hopefully. And if you have questions, feel free to hit us up when we are live Mondays and Thursdays on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, or shoot us a DM on any of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, all those good places. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurth, and we'll talk to you all on Thursday.
Go Phils.